Today on the show, Radical Ones, we continue Sword and Sorcery Summer with the 1988 film Willow.
You need a warrior for a job like this. I'm a nobody.
It's time to get radical.
There's something really special that I've been promising to show you.
What would you do to get him?
Grab him and take him. Take him. Like that.
Hey, look! A Dungeons and Dragons ride!
Yes! Let this be our final battle!
I have my eyes, I have my cunning, and now I have strength.
A never-ending adventure new for your Nintendo Entertainment System.
You must find a champion, full of heart, and pure in spirit.
Champion? What champion?
Welcome back, Radical Ones, to another episode of the Radical Retro Rewind podcast. As always, I am your host, Radical Ryan Hunter, here with the movie geek himself, Rob, for the next episode in our Sword and Sorcery Summer. We are coming right off the 100th episode. Rob, welcome back.
Thank you. Hi, everyone. Glad to be talking about today's movie.
So let's bring up the 100th episode really quickly. I got a call from David. Hello, David. He's like, love the episode. Love that we were all together. He's like, but you mentioned how terrible the audio was in the beginning. And he goes, and then I start talking and the worst audio ever possible comes out. I don't know what happens with David's mic. He's on a separate microphone. He's buying a new laptop, honestly, just for this podcast. Everybody. So I don't know what happened, Rob. It sounded much worse before I put him through the magic filter.
I look, as long as I understand the person who's talking, I really don't care. It doesn't necessarily have to match the exact sort of tone and volume as others. If I can understand you, it's all good. It's all about what you say than how you sound, at least for me. But of course, if we were in sort of a higher plateau of, very popular and the expectation of having, the equipment and the money behind the show, then yes, definitely, call us out for our sound. But I understood him the entire time, so I'm fine.
We judge ourselves sometimes the worst, but new equipment coming for David, so that's going to be exciting.
It was a different time. It was a time of destiny. A time when a child could tip the balance between good and evil.
Why, with my powers, with the strength of my great army, can you not find one little child?
A time for an unlikely hero named Willow.
Tell her I'm not gonna let anything happen to the baby.
We gotta give that baby to somebody.
I'm somebody.
A time of scoundrels.
What goes on here?
Uh-oh.
And a time of rebels.
You are great.
After them!
You're gonna get us killed. You're a great warrior and a swordsman. And you're 10 times bigger than I am, stupid!
Find the child! Find the child!
It was a time when courage could be found where you'd least expect it. A time when unearthly powers raged and good men risked their lives. A time of great adventure. From the creator of Star Wars and the director of Cocoon, Willow.
Let's get into today's movie. Rob, this is a big one. This is Willow from 1988, and the summary is: enter the world of Willow. Journey to the far corners of your imagination, to a land of myth and magic, where dreams and reality live side by side, to a place that never existed, a time that never was. It is a world where a young man named Willow lives out an adventure that explores beyond the boundaries of his own hopes and fears. Released, Mr. Anniversary, May 20th of 1988.
Another anniversary.
This is, of course, Sword and Sorcery Summer, so this was going to be touched upon. Besides the anniversary, this is one of your number one picks when we brought up this topic. Tell us about it.
No, yeah, I really enjoyed watching this as a kid, and it's so funny because, you know, this is all George Lucas, right? Mm-hmm. And Ron Howard, who are great in the game that they're in. Me not being as much of a Star Wars fan, you know, that's more towards the sci-fi sort of aspect where this is more fantasy. This is where me and George Lucas can have a conversation. You know, it's, you know, when you put monsters and magic and goblins and all of that stuff into the mix, that sci-fi, you know, like, God, I don't want to get into Star Wars right now, but this is where I can have an agreement with him. I like this movie, and it pretty much is a Star Wars film without all the sci-fi, with the music, the transitions, the horsemen who are literally sounding like stormtroopers, the screams, you know, the stormtrooper scream, all of that's in there. I know there's a name for it too. I think there's a name for it.
Yes, there is a name for it. I actually have a little thing for you.
Okay, very good. But yeah, all of that's in. So I just enjoy this type of world, and Willow is just one of the best because I've said this in the past. I love a good underdog. I love the David Goliath story. I love just someone triumphing over what they are expected to be in the world. He had a lot of, you know, walls to him to where he had to like push through. He felt he was destined to be something that everyone told him he couldn't, and this little man like ended up being a great hero, and I just love stories like that. So yes, I wanted this to be a part of the lineup.
I wonder though, because it gets so compared to Star Wars, and you not being, you know, like you said, a huge Star Wars fan, and they're out there. Rob is not alone with this. There's people who do not get Star Wars, or it's not their thing. But does this work in your favor because people compared it to Star Wars so much? Mm-hmm. Like, but you still see the comparisons, but I wonder if you're a little more detached, you can just go like, okay, it's in the vein of it.
Yeah. I mean, look, even though I may not be a hardcore fan, I watch them all.
Yeah.
You know, like I know enough of the lore for me not to be completely lost. I just don't get into it like a lot of fanboys out there. With that being said, I do pick up on sort of the George Lucas charm and signature in his films. And again, like I said earlier, with like the transitions and everything, these are things that kind of popped up at me. And I'm like, I completely see that George Lucas is a part of this. So I think knowing a little bit like that, it works in his favor because I really like Willow.
Okay, so the other thing Rob brought up, which I love this is called the Wilhelm Scream.
Okay.
So this is a stock scream that Rob mentioned it best. It's heard in Star Wars, it's heard in Indiana Jones, Lucasfilm films, but this has been used in countless films over the year. It's like a running joke. You'll hear this same exact, and we'll play the cue, the sound. It comes from a movie from 1951 called The Distant Drums, and it is used ever since then. A matter of fact, 2021, there was a count done, and it's been used over 401 times at the time. And Rob, Lucasfilm is now retiring it, and in the last few Star Wars movies, they are using a new stock scream, supposedly.
Oh, nice.
That's going to be used, but honestly, I have not picked up on this in the later things.
Okay, look at that. I learned something new today. I had no idea he was going to bring this up, but I know he noticed the same thing, so I'm not surprised that he was already prepared.
This starts out that it was actually written before Star Wars as an idea that George Lucas had.
Awesome.
And of course, the story changed many times. At once, it was called Munchkins. What? What do you think about that title? Like, is that too?
It's on the nose for sure, and I get it. 1 second, isn't there a movie called Munchkins?
There is a Munchkins movie. We're not just talking about the donuts at Dunkin' Donuts.
I'm looking up right now. I want to say that there was a...
I mean, of course, there's the Munchkins and the Wizard of Oz, but yeah. I swear there was... Yeah, you're right. There's something.
I thought I saw, like, a weird, like, Ghoulies type movie called Munchkins or something. I don't know. Anyways, here's the thing. I mean, when we talk about this movie, I don't think the title is too far off. There were a lot of derogatory names in this movie.
Peck?
Well, that was really stupid, Peck.
Don't call me a Peck.
Oh, I'm sorry. Peck. Peck. Peck, 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 peck.
You be careful. I am a powerful sorcerer. See this acorn? I'll throw it at you and turn you to stone.
Ooh. I'm really scared. No, don't! Don't! There's a peck here with an acorn pointed at me!
I wouldn't want to waste it.
Ha! Peck, 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 peck!
Yeah, there was a name for everyone. We do not say that on our show, Ryan. That's derogatory.
It's true. That's true.
God, said it with such passion.
That's all I remember from that movie as a kid for some reason. Val Kilmer in that bird cage, I'll call it, saying that word over and over again. I'm not surprised. What did you think about like the derogatory words that were being used in this? Like, look, it doesn't affect us, because they're not talking about us, but do you know how many like, if I hear the N-word one time in a movie, I get real turned off, and I'm like, I don't even know if I even care to watch the rest of this. Do you know how many times we had to hear all of these characters who we want to rally root for? Yeah.
And they're on the good side, and they are all still referring to him with this word, and it's
almost
just
that's his name, right? They like that was him. He was not Willow anymore. That's what he was.
I mean, I get it in the beginning, but it's just like they just kept going, and almost every single character said it at least once to him. And it's just like, you watching it now, it stands out. Like, you wonder if this influenced anyone when we were younger, watching it for the first time, to just call somebody by the name that they're not. It's just funny to think about, like, I didn't let it take away from the movie, but it's just funny to think about.
Someone wrote in a comment when I was researching, they said, why didn't Disney Plus censor that? But I said, what would they put in its place? It's like used as that, so they would have to make up another word.
Well, it's also the other thing too, is that there was never a moment, at least I don't remember one when I watched it, there was never really a moment where Willow was like, and don't call me Peck, and then he like killed somebody or something. Like, there was never a moment where he took charge of it or made somebody feel stupid for saying it. It just, once these, Daikinis, us humans, decided to like treat him with respect, is when we decided to respect Willow in the movie. And it's just like, I don't know if this works, but yeah. Munchkin, interesting.
Well, very happy it changed.
Yeah, I'm glad they went with Willow.
But that is very George Lucas to me. He would think of something like that. Ewoks, Munchkins, or, put something like that. He actually offered the role of Willow to Warwick Davis when he played the Ewok Wicket in Return of the Jedi. And Rob, I cannot get over this. He was, what age? He was 17 in this movie, playing a father.
So young, and I was very curious how old he was in this. I'm glad you looked that up. I can't believe it. I wonder if he was 17 in the movie. I wouldn't be surprised.
He stands out as such a protector and a father figure. It's definitely a testament to Warwick's acting, because I don't see Leprechaun at all during this movie. I see Willow.
I did. Oh my God, I did.
The poses.
It's the run. It's the voice alone. Run. Like, yes, I watched Willow growing up as a kid, but like, I've been subdued to Leprechaun for the last 20 years with 7 sequels. Like, that's who he is to me. Like, that's all I hear. Especially when he would yell out his wife's name, Kaya. I'm like, that is the Leprechaun.
The wife. Oh my God. I love their relationship, by the way.
She is such a hype woman to him. It's so amazing to have such a supportive partner just like back you up. Like, yes, go out, get yourself in danger. I will stay home, take care of the kids. It's fine. Like, she cut her hair. You name me one woman that's gonna cut her hair for a man. Oh my God.
She loved her Willow.
They were so tight. I love their relationship too. They had a great one.
And I did love that beginning when, you know, his children and him come upon the baby, the Moses down the river. I mean, we got into Adam and Eve last week. This is so Moses, this story.
Can you imagine though, how vicious was Willow where he was like, just push the baby back down the river.
Don't touch it. Right?
Pretend we've never seen it. Let's just ignore it. That was.
But I do love that the wife found it and was touching it and was like already like, nope, we're taking care of this kid and the whole journey.
The family fell in love with this baby immediately. And, you know, can we keep her? Can we keep her? Dada, dada. Oh, that was so cute. But yeah, I get the drama that a baby like this would bring, because all they need to do is just be like, yeah, we stole the baby or whatever. I mean, they live on the outskirts of wherever, you know, they just want to be separate from all of the hate that goes on in the rest of the world. You know, they don't believe in fighting, you know, like they have these festivals. Yes, they have warriors to protect them when needed, but they're not driven by violence. And so like, they don't want anything to do with the outside world. It made sense for someone like Willow just to be like, just get rid of it. We don't need to, you know, but Kaya's like, hells no, we're keeping this kid.
And to speak of the people in the village, which, by the way, was always a medieval fair.
Mm-hmm.
Tony Cox.
Yes.
I totally forgot that he was one of the warriors in this movie.
Tony Cox is in this. And our Van Car, so this is Phil Von Dacaro.
Yes, I think
who is from...
Well, everything, but of course, Double, yes. Toil and Trouble, our favorite.
Trouble, yes. He was also in Ghoulies 2. He was a carny in that one. He's been in everything. Oh, he's been in everything. Do you remember there was a Full Moon Entertainment film?
Oh, God. I can only imagine.
I forget the name of it because it just popped in my head, but it was basically a mini-size version of all the Universal monsters. And he played the Dracula character. Okay.
Is it the Creeps?
Yes, it's the Creep. It's called Deformed Monsters Creep. So he played Dracula. There was Mini Mummy, Frankenstein, and Werewolf. There's a small poster.
Yeah. 1997.
Yes, that's what I remember big. So that was fun. So yeah, it was great to see him. Migosh, we know who Migosh is. This is David Steinberg.
Charmed alumni, right?
Exactly. He's a Charmed alumni, but he was also in the Leprechaun-themed story of Jake and the Leprechaun on Are You Afraid of the Dark?
He was, yes.
He was he had longer hair in that one. He didn't have his curls, but he was great in Afraid of the Dark. But yes, David Steinberg is who I remember most. Oh my God, Migosh is such the best friend that I never had. Like, he is the Sam to Frodo. Like, he is just, it sucks that he didn't continue to join him for the rest of the journey, but I totally get it. But it would have been nice to have the pair of them come in before Lord of the Rings. I would have loved to have been like, it's all about Willow and Migosh, you know, whatever about this Frodo and Sam. Like, the true duo was Migosh and Willow. But
I agree. They're dynamic, even in that scene when they come across Val Kilmer for the first time again. Mad Man, I always wanted to call him when I was younger. Mad Mardigan.
Good night, Mad Mardigan. Mad Mardigan and Mardigan.
I would have loved their dynamic, and honestly, I would have taken him in the group over the Brownies.
That's fair.
Like, that to me is so far out. Like, again, that's a George Lucas thing to me. That was not needed to be in this movie. I get it, they're comic relief, but to me, they were just stupid.
I actually like them.
Do you? Okay, great.
I did.
Great.
I found the Brownies to be very entertaining. I want to say movie, it was just their Three Stooges like relationship
Yes.
that they were just so bumbling, especially when they were like, okay, we're gonna go this way, and then he's like, we're going this way, and which way we're going? That way, and then it just kept going.
Come on, get him. Oh, it's very dangerous. It belongs to the fairies.
Hey, quiet. You want to get us killed?
Kevin Palick, my God, I always forget that he played this comedic performance because I just remember him playing more serious characters. And Kevin Palick, I just think he was so good in this movie. So I give them a little bit more credit than you, Ryan, but I do
love
agree
that you like them.
If I had to pick, I would definitely have Migosh on this trip. So I totally get it.
But you got something, which is good, and I'm sure there's so many fans of the Brownies.
Yeah. And of course, you know who returns.
Okay, so is Billy gonna be Billy Barty?
We'll see how many he shows up in.
This man was on a roll. He was in Legend last week. He's in this again.
We'll see where he shows up. He's gonna come. Well, he's definitely gonna come up again at least once in the future. So
he played the High Wizard in this town. What did you think though of his finger thing with guess the finger, you become the new teacher? I mean, the new student once a year.
I may have to read up on this. I really didn't understand why he was like, no, we don't have any new apprentices. You picked the wrong finger. But then when it was time to actually do something, let me hype him up and think he's the shit and tell him, oh yeah, that's the right one. And you are going to make a great sorcerer. I'm like, why? What's the change of heart?
You lying.
Yeah. And I tried to think of a reason like, well, maybe when he picked the finger, he didn't believe in himself, right? Do you remember the theme? Ravel kept saying, you have to believe in the words, right? So he can go on this track of like, yes, I want to do magic and blah, blah, blah. But if he doesn't believe in himself when he's doing it, like, I'm not going to give you the job. Like, be confident when you're picking my finger.
Forget all you know, or think you know. All that you require is your intuition. Now, the power to control the world is in which finger? No apprentice this year! When I held up my fingers, what was your first impulse?
Well, it was stupid.
Just tell me.
Pick my own finger.
Aha! That was the correct answer. You lack faith in yourself. More than anyone in the village, you have the potential to be a great sorcerer.
And I'm guessing that's why he was like, nope, no apprentices. But technically he said, you know, I would just pick the finger that I would pick. And he goes, believe in yourself. You have instincts. And so I'm guessing that was the reason. But that sudden change that happened within 5 minutes, I was just like, you're just...
Yeah, he needed him. He's like, this one's going to do it. This one's going to take this baby back.
I also thought it was, like, again, with the brownies and stuff, this movie was funnier than it needed to be. I just did not remember so much comedic stuff in this. Just even when the High Eldwin like threw up the rock and turned to a bird and said, go follow the bird. And then he goes, he's going back to the village. Well, just forget the bird.
That was my favorite part, honestly. I think of the whole movie.
Go in the direction the bird is flying.
It's going back to the village!
Ignore the bird. Follow the river.
Move out!
But he said a lot of funny things. He was just like, oh yeah, this group needs a leader since you're not going to take the best warrior. And then all of a sudden Vancar's invited. There was just a lot of funny things that I just didn't expect, and I liked this movie for it. It was very entertaining to see all of that.
I got more of a quest than Legends last week. And I remember I kind of said that it felt like it was something with the pacing or something. Even though it was longer, I said it should have been shorter.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's because I see a movie now like Willow, and I think they did it so much better because there was more world building. I feel like we went on really a journey compared to, you know, the point A to point B in Legend in a way.
Yeah, and I think that with Ridley Scott, like his whole point was to remove all of those elements and keep it just more focused on the characters and not the lay of the land. That's what he wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, there was a reason why he did that. But yeah, he wanted to stand out and be different than most fantasy movies that you would see, which is what we got in Willow, which is this very typical journey.
And very
just,
typical.
And being introduced to the world as well as the characters. So yes, this is a more authentic, what we are used to type of quest.
Do you think the humor is to balance horrific moments in the movie? Because honestly, even as a kid, I know this was more family friendly, I guess because it is George Lucas and Ron Howard and it was geared towards children. But to me, those devil dogs, the hounds, terrifying, the troll that turns into, I don't even know what that is. Horrifying, right?
Yeah. There's this term or just sort of a trope in movies where anytime you make a film for like kids or like a family film, you always have to create a character that is profitable.
Yeah.
So like a big example would be Frozen, where Olaf really doesn't do anything except for say funny things, but it's because he's profitable. He can turn into a toy. He is something that kids will want to buy, whether it's a stuffed plush doll or whatever. Like he is something that we want to, make money off of. And that sometimes even goes in with like a song, like a musical or whatever. Like when you watch Disney animated stuff, like they have to make a song that's super catchy aside from songs that actually have meaning into what it's going to say. So to me, it just sounds like with all the comedic stuff is going on, I wonder if there was a method to that to where like they wanted to make the brownies profitable like the Ewoks or, have something that kids can relate to and sort of like take the edge off when we are getting attacked by dogs and, women getting ripped to shreds and stuff like that beginning. Yeah, right. So yeah, I think the comedy stuff was needed. I can't say that this would be a full-fledged like horror movie if it didn't have it, but it didn't hurt.
Our Mombi from Return to Oz playing a witch again in this movie. To me, she's horrifying. Like I just need to look at that woman's face in that mummy outfit that she's wearing with that helmet.
She was Momra's sister.
Yeah, what? Like, is she supposed to be ancient or is that just her look?
That might just be her look. I'm sure she has like a lot of backstory that we weren't, given in this movie. But yeah, I think those are just like some kind of robes. Maybe she's got something real cute under there. She ain't trying to get dirty. I don't know.
Do you think, though, the villain, the skull face villain, I can't believe I'm forgetting his general...
Isn't it Kale?
Yes, Kale. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I think he looked fantastic. He gives you that Darth Vader-esque look of an imposing villain. I think he's underused, honestly.
Really? You thought so?
I think there's something about unmasking a villain maybe too early. I would have preferred him to be this skull person, unveiling that he's human. Yeah, we know he's human, but at the same time, like, keep him a mystery maybe a little longer.
I see that. I mean, he definitely proved to be the official right-hand man to Bath Morta. Yes, you have the daughter who by nepotism ends up in the position that she's in, but really the true, confidant to our queen is Kale. Like, I'm going to turn to Kale for this. So yeah, he was definitely a force. It was somebody that needed to be beaten more than once, he wasn't just going to go down easy. Like, he was a part of a lot of the sort of plot points that went on. He officially kidnapped the baby. He's the one that, got out one of our biggest heroes in the movie. Like he was a force. And I found him to be a very like needed character for sure. But yes, I think if they wanted to make more of a scarier, version of him, make him more of like a ghost or a boogeyman, they would have
yes, and something imposing, but not needed, honestly. But
yeah, he did a great job. The smirks he gave when he would hate on the daughter, when Sorcery would get red, he'd be like, "Yeah, I know that's right."
That's why he has to be unveiled. Then he had to give those looks, right?
Yeah.
He had to give face.
Mm-hmm.
I honestly love that we get two women of a certain age battling. I love that it's the two sorceresses. It's not the old man, seek the old man on the wizard of the hill with the long beard. It's actually two women that have the power in this movie, and they're older and punching. Battle at the end, it always makes me laugh when she punches Mombi in the face.
Yeah, I think you have a really good point. I didn't really touch on the powerful woman part. I mean, I noticed it, but when you tie it into also making Willow sort of the unsung hero of this, not to say that the men in this film are taking a heavy back seat or they're worthless, but the movie is not about the white and shiny armor taking over and saving everyone. Even though it was through betrayal, Sorcery even stands out to be someone that we love to see win.
Yes.
And triumph. And yes, granted, Val Kilmer brought on a lot of the masculinity in this movie, but yeah, the movie definitely centered around the people that you would see sort of on the sidelines take the forefront. Magic is our solution. It's not brute strength, and it's not muscles. It's the magic. So yes, to your point, I love the fact that these two women were a force to be reckoned with. Do not mess with us. And yeah, I thought that was great. They had their, Merlin and Madame Mim battle.
Yes, Merlin and Madame Mim. Yes, okay.
Amazing. Yes. I remember as a kid really, really laughing so hard over the fact that Ravel got the upper hand and was swinging her around the castle, and then she would just be like all laughing. But I don't know, it was just because it looked like she was out for the count. The rock falls on her, and then she tries to grab the wand all Force-like. Yeah, just like the Force, And then when she got it, she just yells out a chant and she goes flying. I just thought that scene was so funny. And then when she throws her to ground, remember Ravel gets up and just starts laughing. She was like, hey.
The best.
So good. I just remember getting a really good kick out of that. But let's turn it around. When she got up to go check on her, she was laying on the ground, revealed her face, and was poking her with the stick. And then all of a sudden she screams at her. That was scary.
Scary as hell. That's what I mean. Like, as a kid, that scared me. This woman looked evil. I think I just remembered that again. Return to Oz. Like, she plays evil. Fantastic. Oh, yeah. Chef's kiss.
She did very well.
The two-headed dragon, Rob, while we're talking about villains and things, this was one of the highlights, I think, because it's one of the bigger action scenes. You got the trolls climbing up the buildings. You got like the big battle. The two-headed dragon is called Sisk because it is supposed to be Siskel and Ebert. And this is there to like haha at them as like, never liking their movies or whatever.
Wow, are you serious? I'm surprised they didn't look different, because you would think one would be like maybe a little taller or something. Oh my god, I had no idea.
And speaking of our General Cal was another, I guess what they're considering a villain. It was a female movie critic with the last name of Cal, Rob, and she was another hardcore critic that probably didn't like anything, and she is the other creature, the name of the other villain.
Oh, wow.
So they didn't like what was going on with these reviews, I guess, in 1988.
Wow, I did not know that. That's pretty crazy. I think people use these movies sometimes, when they make them. They're very cathartic for them to just really lay out everything. I just read something, or I heard something online with James Gunn and Guardians. I don't know if you saw Guardians yet.
No, oh my god, okay. But I know it's amazing, right?
I mean, not to fully get into it, but basically the movie centers around this entire team rallying together to save one member of their team from dying, right? And the movie also has a theme of second chances and things like that. James Gunn sort of saw himself as Rocket because the whole world rallied against him for his comments that he made on Twitter, and they were trying to remove him from, but the people who had his back was the cast. They all stood next to him and said, we will never do another Guardians movie unless he's directing it. That's sort of what happened in this movie. This entire team did everything possible to save this man's life. So this is sort of his living story with that particular situation in his life. And so, yeah, sometimes, these things that happen to them personally are projected in these films. And this is a way for them to just kind of let it all out. And so I totally get it.
Another unscripted talk about real life moment was the throw up scene, Rob.
The throw up scene.
When the baby is vomiting on that the person from the I forgot the character's name, but he was the one against Willow all the time. Thank you. Yes. Oh, and thank God that Rob had to say that. I would have said Robo Mutt. It was actually just one of the takes. The baby vomited, and they thought it was actually a cute to keep it in.
So that was real? I thought that was like pancake mix.
I thought it looked too. It looked terrible. Like it looked to me like phony, like fake. But they said it was real, and they left it in.
Wow, that's funny. So this gives me an opportunity to then just say thank you for that authentic, method acting that Allura was doing. Because I'm going to tell you right now, every single shot of Allura, her face matched every single mood that needed to be given at that time. She is like one of the best actresses in this movie. I'm telling you, her cues seriously matched every single mood, every scene. Just either if it was confusion or like, I love when Matt Mardigan was swinging her around the moment he held her for the first time, and she gave him this look like, chill out, dude. Like I know I'm cute, but we ain't got to do all this. Like, calm down. It's okay. But it's just like all the cues were just great. I love this baby. This baby was great.
And I do love that they made her this wise beyond her years kind of baby, even when like she's saying, no, she's choosing you, Willow, to protect her. Like, it's something very mythical again with that. But yeah, the baby is just, she was fantastic. And they definitely gave us enough cute close-ups of giggles and smiles to make you go, oh, the baby.
Yeah. Yeah. Some of the things that stood out to me in this one was the music, of course. Yes, it did sound like Star Wars in a bit, but there were also moments that, there's this particular scene when they're rescuing Allura from the camp when it was all snowy in winter. The music in the background, I feel, was straight up from Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Ooh, oh my God. That's hysterical.
I don't know if it was a Disney connection to use some of this. It just, when they were in, the backyard, and I think they either had to deal with Auntie or the scorpion or something, it really sounded like Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, I swear.
I need to go back and listen. That's great.
Yeah. The other thing with that same scene, is it Rizal or Ravel? It's Rizal, right? Ravel. No, it's Rizal. Yeah, it is Rizal.
Rob is the wrong person.
I know. So Rizal, excuse me, I probably said Ravel earlier. So Rizal, there was a moment when she was like, change me into my human form, right? And I think she was a muskrat or something at first. Okay. So she asked to be changed back to a human, but she went inside their cage to do it. And I'm like, what if this had worked? You would have just been another human.
Exactly.
Inside of the cage. I thought that was funny. But turning her into a human was definitely a foreshadow of like, he needs to, believe in himself for it to work. Otherwise, it's just going to get all messed up. I thought that was funny. But yeah, I love the line when Mad Mardigan was like, what are you going to look like if this works? And she goes, I am a young, beautiful woman. And then he's like, concentrate, Willow, concentrate.
It's so funny because, I mean, of course, I knew what she was going to turn into, Rob, but that voice, even when you're young, you're like, that's not a young voice. That's not going to turn out to be no young woman, Willow.
It's not. Younger, I always thought that she was the midwife that put her in the river. It's not. I think she literally just died. That would have been
great, actually. Yeah, I think she was ripped apart.
We weren't really introduced to her character at all, and all we got was, oh yeah, she was put under a curse. That's it. I honestly thought for the longest time that those two were the same person. Like they tore her up, and then the queen then put her, did a Binks on her. And so but it's not. It's a different person, and I'm like, okay. So it's just great to be able to notice stuff like that when you are older, and you can see stuff like that. But the other thing that I wanted to talk about was our daikinis. What do we think of the human population in this movie? Were these heroes people that we loved? Were they just rotten people just dragged down from the war? And yes, they definitely stood on the right side of the war line, right, of the enemy line. But like, was any of them likable? Do we care for all of them at all? Sorsha, Mad Martin, like Eric?
I guess Mad Mardigan only because they want to do that Han Solo thing that he's this scoundrel and then he becomes a hero. I guess him out of everybody because he has those comedy moments.
What are you doing?
I found some blackroot. She loves it.
Blackroot? I am the father of 2 children, and you never ever give a baby blackroot.
Well, my mother raised us on blackroot. It's good for you. The tear on your chest, doesn't it, Dick?
Her name is not Styx. She's Laura Dannon, the future empress of Tyrus Lee. And the last thing she's gonna want is a hairy chest.
Did you see what he did? He stole our blackroot. I'll get some more, don't worry about it.
To me, it's Willow. It's the magic.
So notice, as we are talking about these daikinis in this way, the only other humans that really stand out is Sorsha and Eric, who just happen to be redheaded. And
they are redheaded!
And we know how they were treated back in the day. So again, I see you. It sucks. Allura was redhead. We love her. But like, yes, they weren't really given the best roles in this movie. So I will just acknowledge that for what it is. It sucks that was put in their situation.
I always think of a pup named Scooby-Doo. Red herring! So he's gonna be the redhead.
Red herring! Forget it, you dipstick! I didn't steal anything!
It seems that Sorsha and Mad Mardigan both had roles where they felt they needed to be redeemed, right? They were questioning their identity, where they fall in the mess of all of this, which side do they want to, be on. Sorsha, it's interesting with her because I feel we don't get too much of a backstory, but we get enough to understand why she had the betrayal, right?
Right.
This unconventional love of her and her mom. Like she straight up tells one of her advisors, like, I trust her more than I would ever trust yours, your loyalty.
Yeah.
Right. But he foresaw it. He said at some point she is going to betray you. And she brushed it off like it wasn't nothing. But the whole entire movie, they were never in sync. They were never on the same page.
That's true.
She would constantly berate her and just command. Why? She's even like, you're not even good anymore. I'm going to send my best man because clearly you need guidance. You need help. You need supervision. I'm going to just, and she's mad. She's like, you put me in this position. You're undermining it by having this guy come with me now. So where is this loyalty coming from? And I think it's just very, it's her ego that just thinks that everyone is loyal to her by default. Why wouldn't my own daughter? But do you see how devastated this woman was when she found out about...
You know what? I'll give her character that she actually believed in her daughter's alliance, and it wasn't like the whole, like, I'm gonna kill you before you kill me. But yeah, there is something about that she was devastated that her daughter, or is it her ego, like you said, that she would never think that, especially her daughter, would do such a thing.
And it was not even trivial. She didn't even, like, bat an eye. She was willing to kill this woman immediately.
I didn't know how the daughter was okay with killing a baby to begin with.
Yeah. I mean you just kind of do. And that's the other thing, too. It's like, I don't think Sorsha did it to kill her mom. It was more of just like, we cannot just be killing babies in this world. I don't care what's going on. Babies should not be dying. But you got to wonder, though, would she still have done it if she wasn't persuaded by our...
Honestly think that
Really?
Maybe it would have happened years later, but I think it's one of those things that things are put in the perfect place. The people are put in the place for the event to happen. Like on Charmed, like this has to happen. You're right. Like if she wasn't put with those people in that situation, I think it would have taken maybe more years for her to stand up.
Okay.
Possibly. I mean, I don't know. Maybe not.
Well, I know that Kale, there was a moment when he, kidnaps the baby when they're at the castle and he witnesses Sorcery not only battling her own people, but she is back to back with Mad Mardigan. And I'm like, ooh, I can't wait to tell on you when I get back. He stared at that moment for a good 3 seconds and was like, I see how it is. Oh, I can't wait to go back and tell. I know that was the moment. But honestly, if Bad Morta, you wonder if it's if she had hugged this woman more as a child, would we be seeing a totally different movie?
She clearly made her a warrior, probably very was a very cold mother, I'm sure.
But, Val Kilmer can be pretty persuasive though. Honestly, that kind of betrayal doesn't really happen overnight, right? For me,
no.
For me, I think it takes just a little bit more than somebody wooing me to make me see eye to eye. But I think that the relationship between her and her mother was going on for a minute. You don't just immediately say, oh, my mother's wrong, fuck all this.
No.
Also, killing a baby could also just be a turning point too,
You would hope. That would have been the turning point for me. But I'm for some reason I'm hearing David's voice in my head going, she did it for the D. She did it for the D. I know that's what he would be saying now. So that's for you, David.
I also love that the camera panned right over to or switched right over to the elder when he spilled the beans, because she had this devastating face and we're like, oh, what does the elder think? He didn't give a smirk or anything, but he was like, I told you so, bitch. I told you this was gonna happen. But I love how the camera went on.
It's those little moments, right? It gives a lot of character to this movie.
So I saved my notes, save the best for last. Mad Mardigan. Let me just say that Val Kilmer,
hot off Top Gun.
Yes, very hot up Top Gun. He is I love the dark hair. I can go without the blonde any day. Bruce Wayne, Top Gun, what was his name? Moose in that or something? No, he was the Iceman. Iceman. I can go without that. And there were some even movies even after. I'm not a fan of the blonde hair, but this dark, long-haired gentleman, my God.
You do love the longer hair, right?
Yeah. He was a very beautiful man in this movie. The chest hair was working it. He had the nice body. He did not have to be muscular. I like
right. It was perfect enough. I didn't need him to be Conan.
Yeah, but he was very charismatic. I believed all he said under the Dust of Broken Heart. I wasn't feeling his look beforehand. But my question to you though, so I remember when we first saw him, he's in the cage. His teeth looked literally rotten to the floor.
Okay.
And then all of a sudden he gets free. He goes to this village. Maybe he took a shower, but I'm like, all of a sudden his teeth are just white as snow.
What was that? Because it wouldn't have gone away with just a brushing of one teeth either.
Yeah. We'll start pointing this out until this bill is destroyed. But this is also an example of a man who does drag. And what do? We praised him. We didn't give a shit. Who said anything like, oh my God, I can't. Val Kilmer dressed up as a woman and was hit on by a man and yada yada. We've been doing drag forever. Since when did this movie come out?
88, yeah.
88. So this is another example, but it's okay because Val Kilmer definitely likes women, so that's fine for him
since Shakespeare times. But really, honestly,
this is on Disney Plus. Do we see it banned? There's no problem. Nothing happened. So there's one. I wanted to touch a little bit on Matt Mardigan's character because immediately when we see him, we think he's garbage. Eric, who is a renowned warrior and soldier, gives him this reputation you don't serve anyone. You have no loyalty to no one. You're just a misfit and you go by your own rules. And I'm like, is it though? I don't know this, Matt Mardigan's side of the story. So I looked it up.
True.
I looked it up. So this is how he ended up in the cage. Matt Mardigan was at odds with the minister Jareneth. I'm guessing who was a part of this castle that he used to work for. So this minister was very jealous of him. And then Matt Mardigan fell in love with a princess, Charisma of Kashmir. And forced to choose between breaking the knight's code or his own heart. So he could either be with this princess or try to be, but he would be breaking the knight's code. Jarenith, the minister orchestrated convincing the princess that Matt Mardigan was cheating on her.
Oh.
And so this princess believed him, and so the princess accused Matt Mardigan of revealing court secrets to her. Like, oh yeah, all the the Knights Round Table or whatever, I know all the tea. Like, he's been telling me all of these things. And so with that being said, he lost all of his honor, along with the armor and the stature and the knighthood and all of that stuff he lost. So he was banned, right? So then, out of a little bit of depression and despair, like, he's drinking himself to death in taverns, and he's being haunted by, just everybody just kind of ragging on him when he really didn't do anything but trust in a woman to fall in love with, right? And so Queen Bavmorda was then beginning to expand her borders, taking over all of these different... Remember how they were saying that, Tirazleen was taking over all this stuff? So he had an opportunity to really, do we want to go back into the knighthood? And he was just like, screw all of you. So the Knights of Galadorn, took to arms to, repulse her and at Land's End, and Eric gave him one last chance to regain his honor. Mad Mardigan lost this opportunity by deserting Eric at Land's End. So remember that whole conversation? Okay. And so that's why he was put in the cage. Because he left. He was like, I'm not going to fight for you. So when they caught up with him, it's like when you're being drafted and you choose not to fight in the war, you get arrested. That's what happened.
Yeah, he said sit in your casket and rot in it or something. Like, totally had this idea that he was this piece of trash guy locked away.
Yeah, so I wanted to give you a little bit of perspective that, he was deceived and he lost a lot of hope and didn't really trust in being on someone's team. And then meeting Willow, he learned to fight for something righteous, and he chose to fight for Nelwyn's.
Because at first you're like, when Willow is thinking about giving him the baby, and he's like, yeah, give me the baby. You're like, oh my God, what is this guy going to do with this baby? But you know what? Look at that. Decent man. So, Rob, I just want to mention there was a few tie-in merchandise pieces made. And shockingly, because this is Lucasfilm, that there was not mass amounts of merchandise. But what we got was a board game, Rob, that is evidently highly loved by many people who have played it. They said it's a great board game, out in '88. A 3-part Marvel comic that told the story of the movie. A lunchbox.
I had the lunchbox.
You did?
I wish I still had it, but I had the lunchbox.
Oh my God, I love that.
Yeah.
I had no idea it existed until I looked it up.
I'm so mad that I didn't keep it, but yeah.
That's amazing. Nintendo game in the style of Legend of Zelda.
I remember that. Never played it, though.
Never played it either. I would have loved it.
Yeah, it would have been interesting.
And then my personal favorite this was made by Tonka Toys, who made Tonka cars, which is so crazy.
Trucks and stuff, yeah.
Yes, they made little statues. They were little figure statues. And Rob, when I was younger, I cannot believe I did this. My older cousin, had this whole collection in the package still. Gave it to me. I think I was 8 years old, and I opened all of them. I had all of these Willow figures. I can't even imagine. I'm screaming now because I don't know where they're gone. Yeah. But I had each one in the package. He literally had the whole collection, gave it to me. It was his. But goodbye, Willow figures. Aww. And then recently, and we didn't even touch on the sequel series.
Yeah.
They made a line of toys, Super 7, in their reaction retro style that made movie-based ones, but now is going to do characters from the Disney Plus sequel series.
Very nice. That's cool. I like that.
And then finally, Rob, there are 3 sequel books that were released in 95, 96, and 2000. The book took place 1 year after the movie. We find out that half of the cast from the movie is killed with the first 2 minutes of the book.
Oh my God.
Besides Willow and the baby and a few other people.
Oh wow. So this is not canon to the series or anything. This is just...
No, so evidently this was George Lucas's idea. He had a writer take on the book. He gave them the ideas, they wrote them, and now the sequel series has kind of, erased this in canon.
I see.
A stupid question. I'm ashamed to say I have not watched it yet, but
I haven't. It's not a stupid question.
Okay.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance. And the reason why is because while I have a long list on my queue, I started to hear a little bit of feedback, and apparently Willow, the series, didn't really do as well with expanding the story. The show, I guess, necessarily didn't know who was it about. Was it about the queen? Was it about the baby? Was it about Willow? And I think there might have been a lot of plot holes. Again, these are things that I'm hearing. While it is an okay show, and that they got everyone to come back,
they did get people. Okay, I mean, I know Warwick.
Yeah, but everyone, like his entire family, comes back. I think.
Oh my god!
Like the daughter might have been replaced Mims, but the son definitely. I saw his credit in the series, so I think he's back. But Kaya is definitely back. And the queen. I don't know if the grown-up Allura actress is still in this after all these years, but I mean, the story centers around her character, I think, because the one question I had when I was watching this was the prophecy said that this baby was going to grow up and be the downfall of Queen Bavmorda, but actually it wasn't. Willow got rid of this woman, technically, or she got rid of herself, in the battle. She thought, that magic trick was so funny. I love it. But this baby didn't do anything. So what downfall, I was told that question is answered in the series, but into what form, I don't know. But apparently this show just didn't do it justice in continuing what all happened in the movie. So I have been a little bit slow on picking it up, and it did officially get canceled after one season. So I don't even know if they closed it up at the end and gave it a proper one, or maybe left it as a cliffhanger. I don't know. I may watch it one day. I am very curious, but yeah, it's unfortunate that the series didn't work out.
It's so crazy to say this because if we were kids and this series came out, I would have been like, oh my god, there would have been no question.
Yeah, of course.
But it is weird saying how much we love this movie now. I mean, I do have interest, but you're right. I heard so many things about it that I'm kind of like, it's not that it's going to ruin it, but do you even want to get involved? So yeah, who knows? Maybe this summer will inspire me to actually watch the series.
Yeah, maybe before the summer ends, I might check out a few episodes or something.
I think you're right, Rob. The fact that it was canceled always makes me like, oh, because they probably were they're going to tie something into a second season and then it gets canceled.
Yeah.
Rob, do you have some recommendations for us this week?
I do.
Rob's recommendations.
For most of you who are general movie watchers, I think most of these are self-explanatory, right? Like, I tried to really think deep down exactly what type of movies I can recommend. Not necessarily that ties into Willow, but just something kind of similar as far as tone and whatnot. But this list might be a little bit too on the nose, so I do apologize that I didn't expand. The one movie that I think that stands out, of course, with Willow is its tie-in with Star Wars. I mean, yes, I'm an example of someone who, watches Star Wars, didn't really like it as much. It was decent, it's fine, but then like Willow. However, I think other people who enjoy Willow, I think will like a sci-fi version of the same type of story. So I am recommending Star Wars. It is a George Lucas film. It's not the exact same thing, but at the same time, if you really liked sort of the pacing and the way things were going, I'm sure that this epic movie and this epic franchise would be a winner for you. But I know that most of our listeners have probably already seen it. So this is for someone who's never really touched on the series. I think
you're there. I mean, there are people.
Yeah, give it a shot. Of course, I am going to recommend Leprechaun, and it's only for Warwick Davis's brilliant performance as the iconic Leprechaun. I mean, come on, watch Leprechaun, okay? If anything, just watch the first three. You don't even have to watch the whole series. Just watch the first three, enjoy it for what they are, and then leave it alone.
True.
The next movie that I will recommend, if you did enjoy Leprechaun, is Onward. Disney, one of our latest Disney films. It deals with tons and tons of magic, and it focuses around a little boy who's not really good with magic, but tries it anyway, and there's shenanigans and yada yada. A lot of mystical creatures and characters that are in this. I think it is a very fun film, and it touches on family a lot. Heavy family roots in this movie. Onward is a fun film. I like it. And if you enjoy the voices of Chris Pratt and Tom Holland, there you go. Now, if you did not like Willow, this movie was not for you. I'm going to recommend 2 other fantasy films that are a little bit darker, a little bit more rooted in realism, a little bit more poetic, maybe a little scarier. The first one is Pan's Labyrinth.
Yes. Ooh, scary.
Yeah, from 2006. And the next one is from 2005. A lot of people actually may not know this movie. It just sort of slipped under the radar without becoming a cult classic like our other films like Labyrinth, Neverending Story. I think that this movie tried to remind us of the love we had for these fantasy films back in the day, but it just didn't hit right. However, I find this movie to be so unique and so on its own that I think it deserves a second watch. It's called Mirror Mask.
Never seen it.
See, exactly. So I'm just going to read the plot for a second. It says, in a fantasy world of opposing kingdoms, a 15-year-old girl must find the fabled Mirror Mask in order to save the kingdom and get home. This gives me Zelda vibes in a way.
Oh, I'm looking this up right now.
And yeah, also just sort of the cinematography and the music. It's very Guillermo del Toro, just a little bit, but it ties into all of the elements that we love from these movies from the 80s. And so I would say give Mirror Mask a try. Maybe this is more your speed.
Never heard of this.
I almost suggested this, but we only had so many slots. And I know that the classics, and we're not doing much of 2000s. So I couldn't really go into that year and pick this because it's not old enough. So I know we're sticking to the 90s and 80s and before. So check out Mirror Mask, see if you like it.
Looks really interesting from the pictures I'm looking at. Okay.
And the last film that I want to recommend, in case Willow wasn't your thing, but I think this film brings on the fun, and it also does involve little brownies in a way, is Night at the Museum.
Yes. Fun too.
I think this movie still brings on fantasy, but is again still grounded more on today's modern world, but yet still brings in that element of special effects, magic and things like that. I think this is a fun film, and I'm not hearing too much about it. Yes, we did get an animated series, but I found this movie to be fun. And again, what another great opportunity to watch Robin Williams do what he does best.
Was there 3 of them, Rob?
There was. Yeah.
Okay, so I did see all 3 then.
The third one, the third one I think had Rebel Wilson in it.
Okay, yeah. So I will say the first 2 are probably the best, but the first one for sure is amazing. And it gives you all of those, like you're saying, the adventure, the heart.
Yeah, it was Battle of Smithsonian. That was the second one. And then Secret of the Tome was the third one. I can't remember. I think they tried to get Malik back on the evil side. They tried to corrupt him again.
Yes.
I think that's what it was about. Rami Malek. And who was such a cutie in that one? But anyways, yes, Night at the Museum. So those are my recommendations for Willow.
Rob's recommendations.
So there must be something to the magic formula as well. There's especially recently, even with The Mandalorian and The Last of Us, just so happened to be both Pedro Pascal, but the formula of somebody protecting a child, somebody in there going on epic adventures. So that's evidently a timeless tale, Rob.
Yeah. So what did you think about Willow? Did you like it? We didn't talk about if you actually enjoyed this rewatch.
I did. I don't know if I had gone into this without ever seeing this movie and going into a rewatch and without having nostalgia, if I would still feel the same way, but it hit all the notes that I wanted it be. You know, like, is it the best epic fantasy movie? Maybe not, but it holds up to me, Rob. It's nostalgic. I can't fault it too much. There's moments that, of course, could be, you know, a little better, but all in all, great rewatch.
Yeah, I had some fun with watching Willow again. Again, I didn't realize how funny it was. I thought there were a lot of moments that were just trying to be funny just for being funny, and I appreciate that mix of genres, right? The special effects were great when they were all turning into pigs. Like, that was just one example of so many great special effects and makeups that was in this movie. I thought the trolls looked great.
Come for Laura Dannon.
You dare to challenge me? You're not warriors. You're pigs.
I love the underdog story, so I have a special place for this movie. Will it work in today's audience? I actually think that it would. I can't guarantee that everyone would love it, but I think this story still has a place in today's Hollywood. I think that's my opinion. If we really wanted to take it back, and, you know, and go back to its roots and just have a good authentic fantasy, you know, knighthood sort of thing. A lot of movies now, the only way to incorporate that time period is if it's time travel, or a kid stumbles upon a curse and unlocks it onto New York City, or whatever the case may be. You know, you don't really see movies like this unless it's made by B-rated production companies or whatever.
That's true, in the desert on the Sci-Fi Channel when nothing around, it's just an empty field.
Yeah.
It's mythical.
I still think that there's a place in movies to have these type of authentic fantasy movies, and I think Willow's a great example to showcase that. So I had fun with this rewatch. I think Warwick Davis is just amazing.
So charming at 17, being able to carry a whole movie. I know Val Kilmer is definitely, they try to put him in the forefront because of his popularity, but it's really Warwick Davis's movie, I think.
I think so too.
So, we will continue, of course, our sword and sorcery summer all summer long, even through September. We'll be here doing stuff. We know Charmed is over, Rob, but where can people still find you?
I am coming up with many ideas to try and project another podcast, so maybe we'll see one in the future. I have a couple of ideas, but right now, I'm just living my life, loving movies, and just reviewing every single movie that I watch for the year of 2023 and posting it on Instagram as it ties into my Letterboxd account. If you look up Rob the Movie Geek, you will find my profile, and you can see every single film that I've watched thus far in the year, whether it's a rewatch for the show or first watch at the movies, or, you know, streaming or whatnot. I give you a review on everything. So check me out on Instagram and also here on the podcast.
Of course, the links will be in the description box below, as well as the Radical Retro Rewind podcast, one word, on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Spotify, everywhere your podcasts are enjoyed. Thank you again so much for being here. Thank you, Rob. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye. Thanks for listening.